Well, hello, my lovelies. So, this is basically a part two to, I guess, really shifts. Um, Letting shifts happen. It's not really a part two, but it really goes hand in hand. So I really suggest watching that video too beforehand. Before we talk about today's topic, you're probably wondering why I have these three cards in my hand. If you're new to this channel, I do three card pull readings for the beginning of my video, just a confirmation for the energy and the topic that we're talking about. So yeah, I don't handpick these. But let's get to it. And if you want to skip ahead, like skip the reading, like I think like 2 minutes, you should be good. So, obviously, we're talking about resisting change, and what that really feels like, what its effects are, and what we're really doing to ourselves in the long run. So there's a lot to really talk about. I'm going to do my best to condense all of this. But yeah, some of the effects, we'll just get into that really quick because some of the effects are really a lot of strife and turmoil because when we're resisting anything, there's going to be some type of conflict, whether that be serious conflict, whether that be little things or just feeling angsty, anxious, and just not really feeling in the energy. It can cause a lot of strife, and with that being said, with the strife comes despair and cruelty. I know. Very depressing. Sorry, I'm getting over allergies. But yeah, no, it's really not that big of a deal. Some of these things can be really small. So don't let this stuff scare you. This is actually what we're trying to do is not scare ourselves and shift our emotions inner energy towards this, so it's a lot easier to handle change, and it's a lot easier to understand why we go through conflict and turmoil too, because those things are necessary for growth. So let's accept that and understand it, because that would make things a lot easier and make us more capable of handling things and putting things in their place where they belong, so we're not getting taken advantage of. We're not missing opportunities, especially things that we manifest, because that can be a really big kick for your manifestations, and like blocking your manifestations is really resisting change, resisting, going from A to B. And I know that sounds simple in a lot of ways, but really, like, some of these changes, and too, we'll see if it comes out. I think it was in the shift, like, yeah, let shifts happen video. I was like wondering if a tower card would pull out, and it did, like, right away. It was like it just flew out at me too, like as soon as I thought about that, and it's like, you really, and I talk about this maybe not as often as I should, but you go through a lot of tower moments when you're going through change. Like, you'll lose a lot of friends, you'll lose relationships, just your whole reality will really change. You might even change jobs, maybe lose a job and have to build some things from scratch. And sometimes that stuff is really scary, and it's okay to be scared of change. It's okay to, not be completely ready for it, but things do happen overnight for a lot of people. And yeah, it takes a lot of effort, yeah, it takes work, but sometimes things just happen because they're meant for us. And it's, whether you're a spiritual person or not, it's hard to understand that things are actually meant to bring happiness into our life, because we're so surrounded by conflict and turmoil, and just dealing with things that we feel like we don't have power over. So it can be like, is this really happening for me? Is this it feels wrong, it doesn't feel right. Sometimes happiness can scare people. I know it sounds silly, but like, let's be real. Like, it's like when you start to date somebody new and you're like paranoid, and you're like, what is going to happen? What wrong could happen from this situation? So we end up like messing up the relationship ourselves because we're just too conflicted with our own minds, our own thoughts and stuff. And so I don't think it's going to come through, but it's really about overcoming challenges. That's what, the change, the resist, the energy, what it feels like. It can be really it can make you feel drained. It can make you feel depressed and sad and just anxious. And then it can really feel like almost staticky. It's really hard to describe this one, but your head will feel like filled with energy. You'll feel overstimulated in a lot of ways, and it's not exactly a natural. Sorry about that, sound issues. So it can feel very like conflicted, like it's almost like you're just overstimulated and not unnatural, but it doesn't feel good. And honestly, I feel like you will know when you feel it because it's just not going to feel right. You're going to feel a lot of resistance from the resisting, if that makes sense. So it's not about just knowing when things are right. It's usually about trusting when things are right because one, those things will feel a lot more natural. Yeah, there's still going to be challenges involved, like maybe promoting yourself or just putting yourself out there, out of your comfort zone. That is probably the most anxious that you can really feel is trying to put yourself out of your comfort zone and do new things. But it's something that we have to understand is these challenges really build our character. And yeah, that's cheesy, but it does. Like you have to go through experiences to learn more about yourself and learn more about other people and other situations and other things. Like you have to experience it. It's like trying to change the perception of somebody else. You're not really capable of doing that. Yeah, maybe you could have like a really intimate conversation with them, and maybe you can change their perspectives and views, but that really takes a lot of connection, and doing that sort of thing online is not possible for the most part. But doing that in a physical setting where you're like one on one with somebody and y'all have both mutually agreed to have like this intellectual conversation, that sort of thing. But really, you're going to have to experience something firsthand to really grasp something. And even then, there's a lot of things, there's gray areas, gaps and stuff. So like really it's about building yourself up and filling yourself with new skills and energy and new experiences, obviously. But like really, like resisting the change can cause a lot more turmoil in your life, and maybe not always. I'm not trying to scare you. I really am not, because it's not always going to happen that way. But you will stay in like these loops. You'll stay in these karmic loops, these karmic cycles, and a lot of things just won't change for you. So you have to really understand that in order to change and grow and, create more for yourself, you have to do things that you're not normally do. So maybe like not necessarily just, I'm not telling you to just leave your job or anything, but like maybe set some more time aside for that business that you've been wanting to develop, and just put more effort, put more focus into it, and understand that maybe it should be your main focus. Because if you really want something to flourish, if you want a flower to grow, you have to put energy into it. You have to put it under the sun and you have to let it grow. And it's not going to grow in some closet that you shoved in the back in under a bunch of like boxes in the basement. It's not going to happen that way. You're going to have to give it some sunlight. You're going to have to water it every day, and you're going to have to let these things happen slowly but surely, because change can either be overnight or it can be little tiny pieces, 622. And usually the little tiny pieces are really what give you a much more better focal point on why you're going through this process to begin with, because it gives you a lot more gratitude for your growth. It allows you to kind of separate yourself from things that don't have real nourishment in your life. That one's a little more complex to understand, but maybe you might understand that on your own. But like it gives you a lot more clarity and focus on what the change process is really all about, because that's where everything really, that's where all the gratitude and where all of the like accomplishments come through, and it feels good to accomplish things. Let's be real. Like it feels good to complete a goal. That's why I tell you all the time, oops, to journal. Journal your accomplishments. Journal your successes, small or big, because those small things have purpose and have meaning for the bigger picture. I promise you. It may not seem like it at first, especially when we're talking about situationships. That one's probably a lot easier to recognize the conflict and turmoil within. But like resisting a change and attaching yourselves to it is not going to make it's not going to stop the change from happening. It's just going to make you feel worse about it. So don't allow yourself to feel worse about the change. Just embrace it and understand that it is meant for you in order to grow and try new things, try new experiences, and just bring more abundance into your life. So don't resist the change as much as you really want to. Like, and maybe there's some deeper things that we could really focus in on with resisting change. Aside from the feelings, the emotions, the trouble, the turmoil, the growth, the gratitude, like all of the resistance is really going to kind of bring you back into a shell. And the universe is going to still nitpick at you and poke you, but you'll eventually sort of click to to the change and the resistance that you're experiencing. You'll understand your patterns really soon because it's really about getting out of patterns and getting out of cycles, because patterns and cycles, they put you in this box, right? The box just condenses you and turns you into a specific person, and then sometimes we question that person because it's like, who is that person in that box? Did I put that person in that box, or did somebody else put that person there? And oh god, and that just opens up even more overthinking. We don't want to do that to us Virgos. But it's really important to accept these things, small and big. Like whether you're leaving a relationship, I'm not telling you that those things are easy. Those things are difficult. So feel your emotions, feel the angst, feel the anxiousness, but learn how to calm that side of you down and figure out what triggered it to begin with. Was it the attachment to the experience? Was it the um the conformity of the experience, or the conformity of just what you were doing? It felt normal because other people before you were doing it and it felt normal to them? Or is it just the instability that scares you? Because that's a really big one, and that one's totally normal. Completely normal to be afraid of instability. So have a backup plan too. Like, don't just change. Don't just drop your job and just go for it. Although sometimes that stuff does work if you actually put that real energy and effort into something. Like, I've seen kids make slime businesses. If a kid can make a slime business, you can do whatever the taxidermy artwork that you want to do. Like, whatever, it seems weird, but I can promise you there's probably a market for it because there's some weird things out there. Trust me. So don't be afraid of, like, doing things that feel right to you just because they don't feel right to other people. Don't resist change because you're afraid of how other people are going to view you. Don't be afraid of, accept people accepting you, because that's a really big one. Is just like, are people really going to accept me now because I'm different, or I'm doing something that's not normalized by societal standards? Am I going to be like the odd one out of the bunch now? Like, usually that's a good marketing scheme anyway, because just being the same as everybody else, like, everyone has a tarot business, everyone has crystals, everyone's just doing all these trendy things like yoga and stuff. You know, I'm for it. I love stretching. It's not that conformity to do yoga every day. Like, stretching is good for you. Like, stretching your muscles is a part of things that you should be doing every day anyway. But, like, you don't have to fit into some sort of box or bubble that other people create in order to be happy. Like, usually those things will make you comfortable. Trust me, they will feel comfortable, but it's usually because of the narcissistic syndrome. I can't even really elaborate so much on that one because that one's a really deeper topic, and I'm not a psychologist, so there's probably a lot more for me to figure out about that, but like understand that you don't want to be a part of that box and that bubble. And that's what the universe is trying to do. It's trying to get you out of that box, it's trying to get you out of that bubble, and it's trying to put you somewhere else because it's got a plan. And maybe you don't know that plan because you wrote it before it got here. But that's cool because it's surprising and it's going to fulfill your soul. You're supposed to be surprised in the universe. The universe has things that it wants to show you about real love, it wants to show you about real friendships, real connections, authentic connections too. Because when we grow up, when we're young, like we are just, we get dropped into public school systems and like everyone and everything is all the same. They're all having their trendy little lunch boxes. Everyone's got Lisa Frank but me. And it's just, it's you're born into this type of conformity, and getting yourself out of that is what's going to really branch you in society. It's going to bring flourishing abundance for you. So even though it may feel weird, maybe it feels strange, but if you're passionate about it, there's probably a reason you're passionate about it. I'm just saying. So don't resist it. How many times have I said don't resist the change today? Not enough, obviously, because you're still here. I'm just kidding. But seriously, like, just understand that, the resistance is actually a good sign. Okay? Because if you're feeling like you're resisting some sort of change, acknowledge it. Change that perception and do the thing that the universe is pushing you towards, because that's probably where a lot of these doors are going to start opening for you. So, yeah, resisting change can bring more turmoil and conflict into your life, and embracing it, letting shifts happen, is really how you're going to reconnect yourself. Not with other people, but with yourself. And that solo identity, that specific conformity to your soul and your true inner purpose and being and what you are as a personality, even though we may have a bunch of those, like doing that for yourself is going to feel so much more relieving than anything else you've ever experienced. Being your true authentic self is the most releasing form of air that you can breathe. So, I hope today's video at least gives you a good idea of that, what to experience or what to expect when resisting change, and what the type of conflict brings for you, and helps you shift and transition back into that blossoming flower that you really are. So, yeah. And I think I've announced this a couple of times, but I'm branching out to a few other platforms. I don't know if I'm going to stay on Facebook because they keep battling with me there, but I have updated the Gilded server, Twitch, the website, which will soon be a much more sociable platform for you to meet other people and have tarot readers and all of these spiritual communities come together. But yeah, so if you do want to see any of that blossoming content, we are going to put the links down below and you can click them really easy down there. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Peace.